Hello everyone and welcome back to the best investing podcast in the world. Today I'm going to be doing my update of Meta's Q4 2024 earnings digest. Now the stock is up over 600% since I wrote my original Meta deep dive outlining how much of an asymmetric situation it was. And although the market is now back to liking Meta, I believe that they've successfully turned their core business into a machine that produces one asymmetric AI bet after another. And statistically, I believe it's quite likely that this flywheel makes the business much more valuable in 5 years' time. So let's get deep into it. Back in 2022, the market thought that Meta had lost its way. But in my 2022 Meta deep dive, I explained why the company was making the right investments to maximize long-term value creation. The world thought Meta was betting their house on the Metaverse, but most of its CapEx was actually being directed to infusing its family of apps with AI capabilities. Additionally, following the release of Apple's ATT, App Transparency Tracking Framework, Meta was also recently focused on shifting its business towards commerce, as depicted in the graph that you can see on the screen now. Today, Meta has made its apps much more addictive thanks to AI. For instance, back in Q3 2022, Reels were being shared 1 billion times on Instagram daily. Now, Reels are being shared a rather incredible, actually more than 4.5 billion times daily across all of Meta's family of apps. This represents a 450% increase in just 2 years. Additionally, Meta is far more in control of its monetization capabilities by pointing their ads to a messaging API via which businesses can interact with potential customers directly on the platform. Meta's Advantage Plus, one of the key features that enables monetization of the infrastructure that I was showing you just now, so the idea of pointing ads to a messaging API, is now at a $20 billion annual revenue run rate and is up 70% year over year. It now accounts for roughly half of Meta's quarterly revenue, which came in at $48.4 billion in Q4 2024. This represents the continued successful transition away from its legacy ad operation to one focusing on accelerating commerce, which it more fully controls. For now, this seems like one more instance of Meta evolving into a new state, driven by competitive pressures and against the market's consensus, at least in this case back in 2022. Other instances from the past include the shift from desktop to mobile, post to stories, and friends posts to AI recommended posts, as pressured to do so by TikTok. In the graph on the screen now, you can see how Meta's free cash flow per share has now gone far above 2022 levels as a result of the aforementioned AI investments and the evolution of the ad infrastructure. Meta's stock is now 6 times higher than when I wrote my original deep dive, highlighting the asymmetry presented to investors back then. However, I believe that most likely this is just the beginning for the company and that the next 5 years are going to look perhaps even more spectacular. As is the case with Amazon, Meta has plenty of upside by continuing to execute its present strategy. For instance, Threads now has more than 320 million MAUs and is quote-unquote on track to reach 1 billion users. Indeed, the same organizational ability that has enabled Meta to increase real shares by 450% in just over 2 years will also likely take Threads to over 1 billion users soon enough. This organizational ability is essentially user experience optimization, which Meta excels at. Monetization stems from this same organizational ability, so the odds of Meta successfully monetizing Threads once it goes past 1 billion users are also quite appealing. Monetizing surfaces only after they surpass 1 billion MAUs is standard practice for Meta because, as I've said many times in the past, scale precedes profits in the list of strategic priorities in the network-defined economy. Now, family of apps revenue is up 55% year over year, while 76% of Meta's total expenses were directed to this segment. Meta therefore continues to reinvest most of its capital into its core business, de-risking the Metaverse endeavor. As I highlighted in my original Meta deep dive, the accretive nature of Meta's investments yields additional capital, which can be allocated to riskier bets. By definition, this continues to make Meta an asymmetric pick today. If you go back to my Meta Q3 2022 update, you can see how AI has been driving incremental time spent on the platform from the start. In Q4 2024, AI continues to make people spend more time on Meta's platform, with time spent on video across the platform in general up quote-unquote double digits year over year. This essentially means two things. One, AI is driving real productivity gains within Meta, which is likely a taste of things to come for the broader economy, and that's good for the markets. Two, every dollar Meta invests into AI actually pays dividends beyond increased engagement per management's excellent ability to allocate capital. Zuckerberg and company have demonstrated an extraordinary ability to deploy capital, including the purchase of Instagram for $1 billion and WhatsApp for $16 billion. What was most impressive about Zuckerberg in 2022, however, is that he was investing vast amounts of capital into AI data centers before the LLM boom actually happened. It's almost like he predicted the future in some way, and you can see how the increase in CapEx from 2021 to 2022 wasn't exactly menial on the graph on the screen now. So in fact, if you look at it deeply, every dollar Meta invests into AI produces various asymmetric scenarios after that, and every dollar each of these bets produces is reinvested back to produce further asymmetries. For instance, Meta's AI investments have led to increased engagement on the family of apps and to now 700 million MAUs on Meta AI, which develops advanced artificial intelligence models and tools for applications in social media, virtual reality, and research. The advancements from Meta AI actually help drive engagement in family of apps, which then yields more capital to reinvest in AI efforts and so forth. Going forward, I believe this flywheel is going to give way to AI innovations that will change the world. And much like Amazon, Meta stands to create more value from AI innovations over the next 5 years than it has created to date since inception. In his prepared remarks, Zuckerberg stated that he sees Meta bringing two major innovations to the market in the coming years. One, personalized AI assistants for the masses, and two, an AI engineering agent that's as good as a mid-level engineer. Listen to what he said about AI personalization during the Q4 call.
We have a really exciting roadmap for this year with a unique vision focused on personalization. People are going to get to choose how their AI works and what it looks like for them. I continue to think that this is going to be one of the most transformative products that we've made, and we have some fun surprises that I think people are going to like this year.
I personally find that fascinating, and although it's hard to quantify, I can only imagine how much earning power that could potentially equate to over the coming 5 years. Now, he also said something very interesting about the AI engineer.
I also expect that 2025 will be the year when it becomes possible to build an AI engineering agent that has coding and problem-solving abilities of around a good mid-level engineer. And this is going to be a profound milestone and potentially, one of the most important innovations in history, as well as, over time, potentially a very large market. Whichever company builds this first, I think is going to have a meaningful advantage in deploying it to advance their AI research and shape the field. So that's another reason why I think that this year is going to set the course for the future.
Two things really stuck with me. One, the fact that he believes this could be one of the most important innovations in history and that it could unlock a massive, massive market. As is the case with other companies like Palantir and Duolingo, Meta's AI innovations are made possible by their proprietary data. By having data that no one else has, they can train AIs that no one else really can. Thus, so long as the company continues to reinvest most of its capital into family of apps, I believe that the aforementioned flywheel will continue to spin. Meta stock is down over 12% from the all-time highs, but long term, I believe that its market cap will likely go much higher as its network continues to grow and serves as a factory of asymmetric AI bets. So thank you very much for joining me today. As always, if you enjoyed this, could I please ask you to share this with one friend? These deep dives are for free, and the only way this grows is with your help. Also, if you want to learn to analyze companies like I do and pick winners ahead of time, as I did with Meta, and as you've seen me do with Hims, Palantir, Spotify, etc., check out my Tech Stock Goldmine course, which you will find linked to in the show's footnotes. It sells for just $350 and it teaches you in just under 2 hours everything that I've learned about picking winners early over the past decade and a bit. So thank you very much for joining me. Take care, and until next time.